I think we can't underestimate the emotional and physical impact of that extraordinary game against Slovakia in the last 16. I've been speaking to people around the camp, and they've made that very, very clear. Even the substitutes who didn't come on felt drained by it. They didn't get back to their beds until gone 1 a.m, having flown back.
We feel pretty drained as well.
Well, it was. Yesterday was a difficult day, wasn't it? Let's be honest.
And we had a 5-hour drive.
Yeah. These footballers have it easy, don't they? But so it's been a day off, and it was so they've been with their families and their friends. I think it's interesting. They've done that one other time in the tournament, and Harry Kane said it lasted about 5 hours, and he said it was too long. He said there were kids running everywhere inside the camp, bouncy castles, there were horse rides. He said maybe for the next one we want it a little bit shorter. So let's see if it's been a shorter one today. But we will, of course, speak to them and see them train again tomorrow, which is really, really significant. And, of course, all that you and I are talking about, all the fans are talking about, is whether the England manager will make some changes to the starting 11 for this big quarter-final against Switzerland. Toughest team England have played so far, I think you have to say, in the tournament. They've been looked really, really impressive when they knocked the hosts out, Italy, in the last round. I think you and I both said, privately and on Sky Sports News, that we'd like to see Gareth Southgate make some changes. What do you sense?
Well, I think a lot of people would actually like Gareth Southgate to change the formation because it doesn't look like it suits these players. Could he, for instance, switch to a back three? Now, the World Cup in Russia 2018, England used the back three. That was very successful. At the end of the game against Slovakia, the goals came when they switched to a back three. That also allows you to put Kyle Walker as one of the centre backs, and it means somebody like Trent Alexander-Arnold can come in as a right wing back.
And we're looking at the start of the 11 there.
The only issue is that the last time England used the formation was 3 years ago at Wembley during the Euros, round of 16 against Germany. And guess what? It actually worked because they ended up winning that game 2-0. I just think it's a great formation, and it also means that Harry Kane can get more support up front, so you can bring in somebody like Ivan Toney or Ollie Watkins, and Harry Kane just looks rejuvenated and re-energised when he's got somebody else playing alongside him.
I agree with you, and I think, but for me, the biggest issue that England have had in this tournament so far is they've lost the midfield battle, and that's something Gareth Southgate has been battling with himself. You know, we saw Trent Alexander-Arnold in that central midfield role first. That didn't work, so he tried Conor Gallagher. He dispensed with that at half-time in the final group game. Brought in Kobbie Mainoo, who I think both you and I think did well for England in that second half, and largely against Slovakia as well. But England have ceded control in there because Jude Bellingham's playing in a number 10 role. They don't have as many bodies in the middle of the park when they lose the ball to win it back. In fact, we can show you some... One of the big issues that you and I have been talking about is England's lack of width so far, because it's only Kyle Walker playing right back who's on the side of the pitch which is his natural foot. Every other player, Phil Foden on the left wing right-footed, Bukayo Saka on the right wing left-footed, Kieran Trippier left back right-footed. And if you look at England's average positions there against Denmark, look, you can see there's no real width, and just look at how close number 11 and number 10 are there. 11 is Phil Foden, 10 is Jude Bellingham, and a lot of people are saying, where's Harry Kane? Where's the number 9? He's underneath that number 10. He's in exactly the same average position as Jude Bellingham. So the part of the problem is that you've got Kane, you've got Bellingham, you've got Foden, all playing in the same areas, all wanting to make the same runs, all tending to want to play as a number 10. And England have been very, very narrow. Compare that with what some of the other big teams in this tournament have been doing. Look, there's England's average positions, and again, you can see that Saka's cut in from the right-hand side. You can see Foden's cut in, number 11, from the left-hand side. That was against Slovakia, the average positions. Let's move on now to the next slides that we've got for you. And Kaveh, you talk us through these, because I think this is significant. This is what some of the other nations have been doing, and it would appear they've had much better width than England.
Yeah, you saw that last night. Leao playing for Portugal. They had Bernardo Silva as well, getting really, really wide, stretching their opponents, using the full width of the pitch. And also they've got Ronaldo up in front of them as well. And you can see how much further forward they're playing. It's not just Portugal, other teams in this tournament as well. A feature of their play has been how wide they are using the whole width of the pitch. And that is something that England need to do as well. Because
I think Spain's a really good example of that, Kaveh. We can move this one on, look. Talk us through that one.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. With Spain as well, you can see they're playing much further forward. playing predominantly in their opponent's half. That's against Georgia. And look how much width they've got. Now,
much higher up the pitch as well.
Yeah,
England,
exactly. That is what other teams are doing, and I think this is what England need to do as well on Saturday. The only issue is, though, you mentioned it there, Switzerland are a very, very good side. They've knocked out the holders. They are a side who on their day can beat anybody, and they've got some very, very good players. They've got a very strong spine. They've got title winners in Italy, in Germany, in England as well. Akanji, treble winner with Manchester City not too long ago. So I think they're going to be a much tougher test than anything England have come up against. And England, they can't afford to try and be lucky again like they were against Slovakia.
They've surely used all
they need, and especially in the first half, we need them to perform. We need them to be intense. We need that zip in the passing. We need them to be a lot more dynamic than we've seen so far.
I think that's exactly right. I mean, look, this isn't the problems you and I have been talking about, and we're not trying to bash Gareth Southgate here or the players. We're trying to be objective in our assessment of how England have done. And you look at the facts: England have won 2 games in their last 9 internationals. Dare we say it, but they lost to Iceland in their final warm-up game, remember? And here...
Using the players that a lot of people want to see start.
Anthony Gordon was on the left, Cole Palmer was on the right, Kobbie Mainoo was in the middle, and England lost it 1-0. So I've got some sympathy with Gareth Southgate there. But they have to start playing more offensively. For me, they're too predictable because the wingers want to cut inside. They're easy to defend against. Slovenia, Slovakia, Denmark, they've all known what England's game plan is. I think the key is you've talked a little bit about whether England swapped to 3 at the back. I think it'll be really interesting when we're at training tomorrow to see whether Kieran Trippier is training. Yeah. If Kieran Trippier is fit, we know he's had a bit of a calf problem. We know he got a horrible challenge that hurt his knee as well in that game. He said he's okay as he walked through the mix zone, but let's see. If he's okay, I think Southgate will stick with a flat back 4. And I think it'll be Ezri Konsa who comes into centre-back in place of the brilliant Mark Gay, and that'll probably be the only change, could well be the only change that Gareth Southgate makes. You'll be screaming at him if that happens, won't you?
I agree with you. I think Gareth Southgate will stick with, by and large, the same players and the same formation. This is such a big game. The last one was a really big game as well, and we saw what he did. He's not going to rip up everything and start again when it's the quarter-finals of what could be his last
probably will be his last
as
tournament.
manager.
Yeah, so look...
And his 100th game.
This is what Kaveh and I do, by the way, all night long when the camera isn't on us. So you've just dipped into our private thoughts here. But partly the reason we're doing it today is because there's been no access to England today in terms of training. They haven't trained, or in terms of interviews. That will change tomorrow. Kaveh's going to be doing the interviews. I'm going to be at live training. So that's when we should get much more of a clue about how England are thinking, what Gareth Southgate is thinking ahead of this massive quarter-final against Switzerland on Saturday.